Okay, I think we can get started actually. So again, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining this webinar today about studying environmental and sustainability studies at Lund University. My name is Johan Gunnarsson, and I will be the moderator for this session, where we have invited representatives, panelists from a few of our most famous environmental studies programs here at Lund University. And I would like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves and their areas of responsibility and the programs that we're offering here today. And we've decided to start with you, Naoko. Can you please introduce where you work and what you do?
Yep. Thank you very much and very welcome to this session. Very much a pleasure to be able to talk to you about us, the International Institute for Industrial Environmental Economics, IIIEE, long name. We are an independent organization within Lund University, established in 1995, as the decision made by the Swedish government, working on the issue of the sustainability, and especially in relation to business and policy, we try to facilitate the change to make the society more sustainable, but looking at the behavior of the industry and also what kind of things we can do from the side of the society and especially from the government intervention. We have two master's program, which is a very important activities we have been working on. One is the environmental management and policy, which is our own master's program. And that is the main focus of the discussion today. The other one is the MESPOM program. It is a joint Erasmus Mundus master's program that we are running with 3 other universities in Europe. And that is the short name MESPOM. The long name is the master's program in environmental sciences, policy and management. I got the task of being a director of the education since the beginning of the year, but I'm a graduate from the EMP program 20 plus years back. I'm a batch 4 student that came to Lund in 1998. And together with me today, we have Stephen Curtis and Beatrice Kog. So please introduce yourself, Stephen and Beatrice.
Yeah, hi there. My name is Stephen Curtis. I'm a researcher at the IIIEE. My area of research looks at sustainable business models within the circular economy and the sharing economy. Now, specific to the master's programs that we offer here at the Institute, I teach the first course in our EMP master's program, the Environmental Management Policy Master's Program. And that course focuses on environmental science and the Anthropocene, understanding how we as humans impact our ecological systems. I also serve as co-host of the IIIEE podcast called Advancing Sustainable Solutions. It's a monthly podcast where we try to make research exciting, tangible, and engaging for people like you. So you can check out our podcast on any podcasting platform, and hopefully I can field some more questions about what you liked, what our graduates do after they graduate from one of our programs.
Yes, and one answer to that question is that some of us stay at the Institute and become researchers. Like Naoko and Stephen, I am also a graduate of the program in Environmental Management and Policy. My name is Beatrice Kog. I graduated 21 years ago, and since then I have been working as a researcher at the IIIEE, where my focus is mainly on sustainability in a supply chain perspective and how we seek to manage and govern aspects that arise upstream in supply chains. I also teach, and if you choose to apply and are lucky to come to Lund and join us, I will meet you in a range of different courses that relates to the business perspectives in this course, but also on the research related courses towards the end of the program. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, IIIEE colleagues. Now we have a different institute focusing on environmental studies and sustainability science. I would like to welcome colleagues from representing the LUMES program, Henner and Kimberly, to please introduce yourself. Henner, please.
Yes, thank you. As Johan just said, my name is Henner. I am a researcher at LUCSUS at the Lund University Center for Sustainability Studies, where we host the LUMES program. The LUMES program stands for Lund University International Master's Program in Environmental Studies and Sustainability Science. It's a very, very long name, so this is why we just abbreviated this as LUMES. As I said, I work as a researcher. My work mainly focuses on energy and climate politics, roughly speaking. But I'm also, just like two of the other speakers, just like Naoko and Beatrice, I'm also a graduate of the program. So I graduated in 2010, and that is 11 years ago, batch 12. Currently, I teach in the program. I have a block on systems thinking, systems analysis in the first semester of the course, but of the program, but I teach basically all over the place, and I do a lot of supervision. So if you come and if you choose to join us for the LUMES program, there's no way you're going to avoid me. And with that, I would like to hand over to Kimberly.
Thank you, Henner. It's true. Henner is Loomis and Loomis is Henner. You cannot avoid him. And thank you, Henner, for saying the full name of the acronym, so I don't have to. But yes, very nice to meet you, everyone. I'm Kim Nicholas. I'm an associate professor of sustainability science and a colleague of Henner's. I have taught in the LUMES, the master's program for environmental studies and sustainability science, since I joined the department in 2010. For 7 years, I taught the introductory Earth System Science course, which is the first course of the program, a natural science foundation for sustainability. At the moment, I'm director of PhD studies, so I don't have a course responsibility in LUMES that I'm leading, but I contribute a lot to other colleagues' teachings as a guest lecturer. I've supervised 32 master students so far and 4 more this year. So my research is on how will we meet the Paris Agreement and actually prevent catastrophic climate change in practice. So happy to be with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Kimberly and Henner. So the way we have 1 hour today, 52 minutes to go in this session. And basically what we would like you to do is to invite the participants, the visitors, to ask questions to our panelists using the Q&A function of Zoom. The chat has been disabled, so please don't try to use that. But the Q&A is open, and I would like you to ask questions to our panelists in the Q&A. We also have a colleague, Rebecca van der Steen, who is not joining us by camera, but she is looking and monitoring the Q&A for any questions that you may have that are more kind of a perhaps general nature. But please take this opportunity to ask questions and direct your questions to the panelists representing our master's programs here today. But to start things off, I would like to say a few things that I find very interesting with both of these programs, actually, and that is the fact that they are open to students who have many different academic backgrounds. If IIIE, would you like to explain why it's important in your programs to have people coming in from many different academic fields? Yeah, Naoko?
Sure. It is probably one of the essential elements of the characteristics of a program. And the reason why is that when we talk about sustainability, we need to have different knowledge, different skills in place so that we can work together. We need understanding of the current and potential economic system, societal system. We need some knowledge from technology. We need to have some knowledge from law, business management, biology, various areas of expertise and knowledge is needed. So what we are trying to do in this program is to help students learn how to work and communicate with people with different academic background, because the type of wording people use may be different. How you understand the same word could be quite different. So, and also the working methods, how you understand things, etc., etc. So this is a place for you guys to learn how to work together with people with different academic background.
Thank you, Naoko. Loomis, is there anything you would like to add to this? Your master's program is also cross-disciplinary and admits students who come from many different academic backgrounds. What are the main kind of benefits that you see with this type of setup? Henner, please.
I can go. I mean, I don't need to reiterate what Naoko just said. I think she had a lot of very, very valid points here. We need to look at things from different points of view to understand problems. I think one thing in this context that I would like to highlight, though, is you'll learn a lot from us teachers, but you might even learn more from your classmates. And this is a strength that both our programs have because of the very international character of the programs, but B, also because of the interdisciplinary character of the programs. And not only will you learn a lot from your classmates during the time you're studying here, but you'll also have networks for the rest of your life. Both friend networks, but also professional networks. And that is a very strong asset of both programs, or all three programs, I should say.
Thank you, Henner. Is anyone else want Stephen, please?
Yeah, just to add, I mean, I really value interdisciplinary education. I think it's so important. We did a podcast episode on the value of interdisciplinary education. If you head over to our website and look at the education offerings that we have on the top right, you can get access to that podcast episode. And I say this primarily because we hear from our students in the value that they see in this type of education. Instead of hearing it from us here, I thought it'd be important for you to hear from the students of the program as well. So definitely check that out if you're interested in learning more about the value of interdisciplinarity.
Beatrice?
Yeah, maybe just one more thing to add, and I think it's a big part of the motivation why we do it, along with all the other things that have already been said, is I guess the fundamental idea that we need people with the focus and tools to think about sustainability and work towards sustainability in all different fields of life. It's not someone within an organization that does sustainability. We need to make sure that that's on the agenda of everyone in society in different roles. And so that's why it's also important to educate people that come from different disciplines so that they can take what they learn in these master's programs and add that to whatever you have in your first degree. And that as a whole makes you what you can contribute to these issues. It's not just what you learn here, but it's also how it relates to the expertise that you bring into the program.
All right, thank you very much for your answers, everyone. So of course, predictably, the first question in the Q&A, what is the main difference between EMP and LUMES? I say predictably because we kind of joked about this before the session started that, oh, people will want to know because maybe from the outside looking in, these programs share quite a lot of similarities, but there are also, of course, differences. So I would like to invite at least one speaker from each program to kind of explain. Kimberly, please, from the LUMES program. Would you like to tell us about the highlights of the LUMES program?
Sure, and I'm curious now what our IIIEE colleagues will say, but I would say what I see as a main difference is that IIIEE is focused on the business world much more so than LUMES, while we do have students who focus on questions of the business world, but that is not our main focus, our distinguishing feature, I would say, especially over time, but we're really known for kind of a critical systems thinking approach. And that's maybe our greatest strength and also a substantial weakness, because sometimes our students come out saying, they don't have specific tools. I mean, you won't have like a certain check mark on your resume that, you know, I use this kind of software, or I have an internship in this precise field. It can be difficult to define exactly what it is, but I think that's also what we hear from students is what they love the most about the program, and what they take with them is this way of seeing the big picture, being able to be both critical and open-minded. I think we are really committed not just to diagnosing problems, but to finding solutions. And that's something that we want to give our students and build towards training leaders who actually are developing and implementing and putting in practice solutions. And especially we recognize that those solutions are not purely technological or only about innovation, but they're very much including the social aspects of how people actually think and feel and behave in the real world, the complications of working with human beings to actually put systems and great ideas into practice and ways of overcoming any blockages there. So that's maybe what I would say. Thank you.
All right. Do we have a comment from EMP or IIIEE? Naoko?
Sure. I think the Kim covered very well the difference, but yeah, probably we say that we have two big pillars. One is industry focus or business focus, and another is the policy. What we'd like to have graduates to be able to do is to be able to understand the both sides of the coin, and so that the people who are going to the industry sector would understand how the policymakers are developing their legislation, what is the thinking behind, what are the processes, what are the struggles they have also, and the same the other way around as well. We are also quite solution-oriented, I would say, the solution-oriented, but also based on, let's say, problem-based learning. We are quite applied in that we try to provide the students with a set of skills that they could apply once they're out there, so to speak. But I think we have the commonality definitely between the two programs, that we also want to have the society become more sustainable, etc. So there definitely we have similarities. Beatrice, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I think in a way, one can say that maybe the difference is in how much weight is given to different perspectives, because within the EMP program, we do talk about systems thinking, we do talk about conceptualizations of sustainability. So what is it that we're aiming for? But it's given less weight in this program. And then we move in to ask students to look at this from sort of through the eye of someone making decisions within companies, or someone making decisions within a policy-making role in public policy. And so we look at it from that and look at what's going on, what can we do, what can't we do. So it's a lot of the practicalities of that. And then I think, whereas in LUMES, my understanding is that a lot more emphasis is on kind of that primary task of understanding the science behind it and how we can understand and critically analyze what's going on. I don't know if you feel that that's a fair description of it, but for me, that's a little bit the differences.
Thank you so much, Beatrice. Another question we have coming in here is how many people are usually admitted every year? How many students, Henner and Kimberly, how many students do you admit every year to the masters?
Well, I mean, the number of students that we admit is actually not that relevant. What's relevant is how many students actually pop up in the end. That's the relevant question, because the Swedish application system is that people put in several choices, and we, even though we admit a certain number of students, we never really know how many we get. But usually these years we have something around 45 students, roughly. We had in recent years batches where we had significantly more, up to 70, but that's a bit hard to manage for us. So we'll rather aim for something around 50, between 40 and 50, I'd say.
40
and
50.
I can just add, sorry, I've been on chat with Amanda, our wonderful program coordinator, and who knows absolutely everything. And she said last year was 719 applicants. So it is something around a 7% admission rate, so that it is fairly low. Although I guess a few more get admitted who then don't come. So those are roughly the numbers. And I can say what you can do to strengthen your application is to read really carefully the website, follow the instructions there, and especially show us how it is that you have thought about sustainability and how you see yourself as a sustainability scientist and how you want to contribute. So I think the more you can align with what we tell you about the program and the website and the other resources we put out there for you, it's easier for us to make a place for you in LUMES. So a lot depends on how you convey your information to us. Thanks.
Right. So between 40 and 50 students is what you're aiming to register every year for this. We have one intake per year. Beatrice, what about EMP?
Yeah, so we aim for roughly 30 every year. So it's a slightly smaller cohort. And we are, I think we are typically around just below 700 applicants. So yes, it is still a very competitive program. I just wanted to echo really what Kim just said in terms of, because whereas we might be slightly vague in terms of what is the actual real differences between our programs, what is important is that when you write your application that you, because we really do a lot to try to present what it is that you will experience in this program, and that you do your homework and also to try to think to yourself, what makes most sense for me? And we also ask you in the application to talk about that, to talk about, you know, what is it that I want to get out or think how I can benefit from this program. And we also want you to talk a little bit about how you think that might inform or what you plan to do afterwards and how it can relate to those ambitions.
So I think related to that, this is what you want students to express when they apply to these programs. And the actual academic background or major of the student is of less importance, but because you admit from many different backgrounds. But do you look at the GPA or the grades of these students as well when you do the admission? Who would like to explain that? Naoko?
Well, the way the grade is not the only thing we look at, but definitely we look at the grades. But we also look at what kind of things the referee would say about you, and also what kind of experiences you have had. That is, of course, of relevance to the program, because we would like to see what kind of experience the students can bring to the program, because it's, as mentioned earlier, the sharing of the experience and the network one makes in the program is one of the vital part of the program. So we definitely value that. But yes, we look at the grade as well.
So you take a holistic view of the student, the grades, any kind of practical experience perhaps, and academic background, etc., and the personal letter, the statement of purpose, referee letters. And these two programs both have this in common, actually, which is not so usual in Lund, but you do both require recommendation letters. Kimberly and Henner, you also do this. How much weight do you put on the recommendation letters when you do the admission?
Amanda's telling us in the chat, make sure you submit all documents. So we can just convey that to you all now. Grade, statement of purpose, and motivation letter, those are all important. I think because we have such a diverse pool of applicants, we have people from all over the world, and the grades are often assessed differently all over the place. So that can be a challenge for us. I mean, we are familiar with the different grading systems and we take that into account. So it's not a problem by any means, but I'm just saying that the easiest place I think to compare people apples to apples is in the written statements. So I do think those are quite important. Plus you have control over those now, whereas you can't go back and change your grades. Yeah,
good point. Henner, would you like to add anything, or are you happy with that?
No, yeah. Kim just described everything. Perfect.
Excellent. So we have a question here. Can master students contribute to the work of the research centers as research assistants, for example, while they are doing the master's programs? Stephen, is that possible at the IIIEE?
Yeah, there's different ways in which students, master students, can be engaged in research. First and foremost, we have that built into our program, where students collaborate with a researcher on a pre-study, for example, in preparation for their thesis. So really trying to integrate research into the curriculum of the program. But of course, there's opportunities that pop up here and every once in a while to engage with research projects on a part-time basis, or especially when somebody is working on their thesis. They're, again, researchers do make themselves available and do wish to engage students in research during the thesis in particular. And part of that is also a way to train for those that are interested in continuing a career in academia. So yes, certainly possible in many different facets of our program.
Henner or Kimberly, would you like to add anything to that?
I can start, Kim, if that's okay. Yeah. So for us, it is very important that we educate our students to become independent researcher. That means that even though there is, of course, and especially in the context of the master thesis, the possibility to work together with research projects that we have, the idea is that you still carve out your own research project within that. That means collaboration mainly takes place during the master thesis time, where we will then send out a list of programs or projects that you could collaborate with, but you'll still have to carve out your own project. There are, of course, certain teachers in specific courses that do something slightly differently there. You will be conducting independent research in a couple of the courses already, even though that is not your master thesis. So for example, there's always a real research project within the popular culture and sustainability course that we have in the second semester, if I'm not mistaken. So this being said, I think the link might be a little weaker than at IIIEE, but there's definitely still the possibility, especially in the context of the master thesis, to get involved in the research projects that we have at LUCSUS.
Thank you. Now here's a question that has received a few upvotes. How would you describe an ideal candidate for your program? Kimberly, please.
I'll first give voice to Amanda's definition. So she's the gatekeeper who's doing the admission, so that's quite important for you to know. I feel like she's like the person behind the curtain here that we have participating via chat. So she says, the ideal candidate is motivated and has understood what the program is about. They want to make a difference, and it shows in the motivation letter. And I would say, I would echo that. I also think, kind of linking this in the previous question, I really enjoy working with and mentoring students in conducting independent research. I think historically about a quarter of our students, I believe, have gone on to PhDs, or I don't know if that number is the latest, Henner, but so there is a substantial number of LUMES students who want a career in academia, or at least a research training. But the majority actually don't, and the majority go on to jobs in all over the world in all different sectors, private and public, and all kinds of work. So I think I really enjoy the chance to mentor and work with students on relevant research projects that I'm leading or conducting or part of, and that is something we've been trying to strengthen at LUMES. For example, this year we had a structured process where faculty could propose research topics that are related to their area of interest and work, and then students could apply. So we're trying to better couple those two together. So I think, to me, it's I really appreciate that LUMES students want to change the world, and I think that is a really defining feature of our program. And I think some balance of energy and commitment to, and passion for making a difference, with being able to support each other, because this field is tough and the climate emergency is here, and it's a struggle, but we have such important work to do, and I think it feels really meaningful to be a part of that group. Thank you.
All right, thank you. What about EMP or IIIEE? Do you have any ideal type of student that you would admit? What kind of qualities are you really looking for in an applicant?
I will try, and Beatrice and Stephen, please supplement. I think it is similar to LUMES in a sense that we are also looking for change agents, or whatever word we use, a policy decision maker, let's say, in a different capacity. It doesn't have to be the prime minister of a country, but it could be a decision maker in the local government, decision maker in a business, wherever you are, trying to make the society sustainable and try to make this, accelerate this change, and to be active in making those changes in whatever capacity they will be in. I think one of the important sort of characteristic would be a team player, meaning that you are able to work with different types of people, sort of ready to listen, but also take actions at the same time. But I think this inclusiveness and be able to work with others with different mindset and different going back a little bit to this interdisciplinary aspect of the program and the international aspect of the program, it's very important to be able to learn and also understand the different contexts. So capacity to understand that, and also the eagerness to understand, that is very important from my point of view. Also, probably one of the feature is that instead of being competing with each other, you would like to have collaboration. So that the collaboration with people with different capacity, and you bring forward changes. Stephen, please.
And it's a really interesting question. I'm not actually involved in the admissions here at our department, but I just wrapped up teaching the first course in our program. And like some of the features that I definitely appreciate as a teacher, I think first and foremost is curiosity. You know, Naoko mentioned this eagerness that comes through in the application. I think curiosity to learn new things, to try new things, to challenge ourselves, push ourselves. And I think another aspect of this is a passion that comes through amongst our students, that they really do want to contribute to make the world a better place. And I want that, and I want to support our students in that. And I definitely see that as a common feature in the classroom of our students as well.
Excellent, thank you. Beatrice?
Yeah, I was just, because all of these are kind of qualities that we are all looking for in students. But I'm guessing that maybe some of you also have questions regarding like, well, what about my background and things like that. And so at least within the Institute, we often talk about two types of students. We have the T student, who is often someone who comes from a particularly disciplinary background. So say you have a business degree, or you're a political scientist, or you're an engineer, and then you come into our master's program, and here you learn about the breadth, and you get the language, and you get to understand, like, you know, a lot of other different perspectives, and that together can be really effective in going out and working towards meaningful change. But we also have the people who come from a more interdisciplinary background, and then they come to us, and we take it one step further. But also you are then immersed in an environment where you have people from all these other disciplinary programs, and you have to discuss and engage with them. And so that, I think, comes from, you become interdisciplinary, but with like an added twist and some added perspective. So I think that we can come at, my understanding actually, to both of these programs with slightly different building blocks in your CV.
Okay, thank you very much, Beatrice. We have a question here. In your experience, LUMES or EMP program fit a student with an engineering background, knowing that both of the programs have a very social approach? Do we have any comments on that question? Kimberly?
We definitely have had a number of engineers, and I think there's several in every batch each year. And I mean, engineers are welcome. I think, as you maybe imply in your question, it's not of course, you know, it's not an engineering program, and I think it's not an engineering approach, which I would define as primarily innovating and developing technical solutions. So that is really definitely not the focus of the LUMES program. And I think if that's what people want to do, it's not the right fit. But if you want to work on how technical, among other solutions, can fit into a smorgasbord of solutions and actually be implemented, I think it can be a good fit. And I'm just thinking of Shrina, one of our LUMES students who had an engineering background, who's now running for Congress in the US. So I mean, we definitely have engineering students who go on to do very interesting things from LUMES.
Henner, would you like to add anything to that?
Very quickly, if you're an engineering student and you take LUMES, it's going to be tough, but I think you will be among those people who get the most out of the program. We also had, as Kim said, we had a couple of engineering students that went on, and they're doing amazing stuff right now. So if you want a big challenge, welcome.
Naoko?
Yeah, we also welcome definitely the engineering students. Probably not as tough as LUMES, actually. We do have several components of a program where we do teach the basics of the engineering technology. And so in relation to, of course, the environment, for those who study the technology, it's a piece of cake for you guys. But then there are many other things that are very challenging for you, waiting for you with the law and policy and business and so forth. So no worries. There are other shares you can. Yeah, but we definitely welcome that. And I think the knowledge you have in the engineering side would be very useful. I think what you need, what you learn in the program is that, okay, so we have this fantastic engineering solution, but there are things that are hindering in society and it's not happening. Why is it not happening? What kind of sort of societal arrangement, be in the company or in the policy or somewhere in the middle, what kind of things can be done to make it happen? And I think that's where you become one extra change agent by learning that sort of the steps to make it work in society. Yeah.
Beatrice.
Can I just add a bit of potentially relevant trivia? So the EMP program, when it was first launched, was actually designed by a bunch of mainly chemical engineers. And I think it sort of came out of their frustration with their current education and the needs that they saw at that point. So yeah, for sure, we love to have engineers apply.
All right, thank you. A question here from a student. This is directed to LUMES representatives. Hello, I'm interested in how rewilding can be used as a tool to tackle climate change and re-engage society with nature. Would this link to the LUMES program in some way? Rewilding.
Political ecology course, third semester, it's an elective. You're welcome.
It's a very succinct answer. I like that. All right, let's move on. We have a couple of questions coming in about internship opportunities. We have a question here. Are semesters internships abroad possible? Is the thesis always written by oneself, or can it be written with a company or within a company or organization? IIIE, would you like to go first on this one? Internships first, and then the thesis writing. Can you describe that?
Should I take this one since I'm running the internship course? Yeah. So yeah, we have an internship course. It's shorter. It's not a semester. It's essentially 5 weeks long, but we put it at the end of semester 2. So the latest course in the spring semester of your first year, which means that students also have the possibility of extending their internship into the summer break, which many students do. In terms of thesis, can you just repeat the question that related to the
right
thesis?
So is the thesis always written by oneself, or can you do it when you are working inside a company or organization or something like that?
So yes, students, it's always an individual thesis and students write it by themselves, but many of our students do write theses in some form of collaboration with companies. That can either be that you, when you design your research, also think of it really, we try to be applied in our research. So often it can be that the needs of the company may inform how you define your problem and the type of research questions that you seek to answer. You can also work with companies, as a object of study. So you can engage in different ways, but there always has to be that you own your own research and it's yours. And the other part is that even if you're writing something that is of use for another organization, there should also be the scientific relevance. So we talk about having both applied and scientific relevance when you do thesis.
Okay, so LUMES, are there any internship opportunities in your program? And also the other question about the thesis writing, if it's done, outside at school, as it were, or within, if you're involved in a company or organization, what does it typically look like, Kimberly?
Yeah, I can take this one. We don't have an internship program at LUMES. Students design their own research for the last semester, so the 4th semester when they're doing their thesis. That has sometimes been done in, for example, as a case study of a particular company or industry or organization. Often, I would say usually it involves field work, although of course under the pandemic conditions are a bit different. But often people go back to their home countries if they're international, or use the opportunity to develop further skills in an area where they're interested in working after their masters. it is possible to write in pairs. It's pretty unusual. Last year I was an examiner for the LUMES theses, and I believe there were only one pair of students, or at least one that I examined. Maybe there was a second one. So I'd say it's less than 10% of students who do write in pairs. So there's pros and cons to that. And on that note, I'm actually going to have to leave you all for another talk. So I want to thank you for having me here, and I leave you in the very capable hands of Henner. So I hope that I see many of you at LUMES, and nice to see all the folks from IIIEE too. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Kimberly.
Bye.
Okay, directly over to Henner here with a question. Can you go into more detail about practical knowledge and aspects of LUMES?
So the first thing that I would like to point you at is the skills and competencies page that we have on the LUMES program. So if you go to the homepage, you go to program overview, there is one subpage with skills and competencies. And I think that might be a bit faster and better for this discussion right now, if I don't reiterate everything that we have there. I think one thing that's very important, though, that I would like to highlight are the things that Kim already mentioned, actually. That is systems thinking and critical thinking. Those are the two most important things, and you'll spend a lot of time on that. In slightly more practical terms, thank you, Rebecca, for uploading the link. In more practical terms, you'll learn how to do group work. There will be a lot of group work. Be prepared for that. That's a very Swedish thing, but it's also a thing that we think is essential because we have such a mixed group, both in terms of their national background as well as their discipline where they come from.
Yes, thank you, Henner. And I think that's super interesting because up until this point in this talk, we've discussed mostly kind of the different background, engineering, social science, etc., that people can have, but also that it is a fact that your students, they do come from all corners of the globe, right? And how is that important inside the program? IIIEE, what is your program, the EMP program I'm talking about here, designed to take maximum advantage of this fact?
Yes, and I mean, when we talk about the admission, we try to have this, what we discussed earlier, there are different types of criteria, and we are not sort of, for instance, having a like percentage of student coming from this part and that part. We really try to focus on the merit of the different students that are applying. But when we do have student cohort which consists of different sort of a cultural and the nationality, sort of cultural background and nationality, we definitely try to make the best out of it. I think one of the very important, learning point for the students is to see how people communicate differently, how you would try to understand people with different values, because the cultural difference, the nationality difference definitely have that elements in it. So it is really about learning that and appreciate that, and also then bring that forward with you so that in the next career you are in, you know those things and you understand and you also appreciate the difference. I think that's the key elements.
Stephen?
Yeah, and just maybe very specifically, Yuan, to answer your question, I think in the EMP program, we support our students to come together as a community, both through team building exercises that we do every year with our students to really foster that international community. And I think that's one of the things that our graduates would say that they take away the most from our programs, but practically in the classroom as well. So by facilitating a session on how to think about approaching group work and how we may communicate across languages and cultures and genders and values. I think also that's something that we as teachers try to integrate as well in how we're teaching. So I'm often asking students to reflect personally on experiences that they've had based on their contexts or cultures, and inviting that into the classroom to help deepen and enrich the knowledge of our peers, both for me, but also, of course, for our students. So practically, yes, we try to support students in internationalization as much as possible.
Henner, would you like to add anything to that from LUMES?
Yeah, very quickly. I mean, one thing is if you come and study the LUMES program and you are based at LUCSUS, you will have to be able to navigate an international environment. This is why this is also important to us, and we facilitate that just like our colleagues at IIIEE do. That is not only because of the students. We have about, I'd say 10% Swedish students, but it's also because of the staff. If you look at the teaching staff, this teaching staff is highly international. So you'll need to be able to navigate this environment, and we need this environment as something that's very dearly required for our masters, because a lot of the sustainability problems we're facing today are problems of geographically replacing problems. We're moving in the way. We're de-industrializing Europe, but what does that mean for environmental impacts in China and so on? For that, we need the students to come from all corners of the world and help us with that.
Thank you for that explanation, Henner. Here's a question for maybe Naoko. Can you just briefly explain the difference between MESPOM and EMP for students who are maybe considering both and they don't know which one to pick?
Okay, so the MESPOM program, EMP program, you have heard about already in many sort of from us. It is the difference is that the EMP program is our own program. Basically, IIIE runs the whole 4 semesters ourselves, and the when it comes to the MESPOM program, it is the something we run together with the 3 other European universities. So the first year, the students do not come to Lund, but they spend about the first 8 months in Vienna at the CEU, Central European University. Then the next 4 months they're spending at the University of Aegeans in the Greece, where they are applying some of the knowledge that they got. Sorry, my office became very dark all of a sudden. Anyway, yeah, sorry. I continue talking. Apply their knowledge in the Greek context and so forth. And then the 3rd semester, they have the possibility to choose between University of Manchester, if they're interested in natural science oriented studies, or they can come to Lund and then learn about business and policy interaction, many of the things that we have been explaining. And then the 4th semester for the thesis, they have the possibility of choosing one of those 4 university as the host institution. So the time they spend in Lund, if they don't spend for the thesis semester, is only limited to the 3rd semester. But there we try to enhance the possibility of them interacting with our EMP program students, as well as some of the Swedish natural science program students that we also teach on the side. But the main difference is that what I just mentioned.
Okay, Beatrice, would you like to add something?
Yeah, I maybe just like there's a fundamental difference a little bit in the characteristics between EMP and MESPOM. So with EMP, we have a few elective courses, but essentially it is very much a designed experience from our side, where we really we sort of look at what are students coming into us and what are career pathways, potential career pathways, and there's a lot of them. And then we've really tried to design the flow of courses to be useful for a range of different students. But with MESPOM, the kind of fundamental principle is a little bit different. So there, because we have all these different universities and the richness of the courses that you can take in these and in the different places, and there are more possibilities to elect courses in MESPOM. Obviously, the obvious difference is that in MESPOM you also have science courses to elect and go deeper into. But so I would say that whereas EMP is more of a designed program as a whole, MESPOM is a program that may appeal to you if you want to kind of select and elect and create your own program experience.
I think we might also add, or correct me if I'm wrong, the MESPOM program, they have their own unique application procedure, don't they?
Yeah, So it's not through Lund, it's a specific, specific process.
Yeah. Okay, thank you all. So there's another EMP question here. Is it possible to specialize more in either business or policy inside the EMP program? For instance, I am primarily interested in public policy, but not business. Is it possible to focus my studies there?
The answer is no. You have to learn both.
You have to do both.
It's no, I think, with a modification. Wouldn't you agree, Naoko?
Yeah.
So here's our logic. We think you will be a better policymaker if you have a clear understanding of how decisions are made in companies and dynamics that affect corporate actors. We also think you will be a more effective decision maker in a business organization if you have a clear understanding of the principles of how policies are made and how they're implemented. And so that's our logic. And so that's why we take every student up to a certain level. But in the third semester, when you start kind of developing ideas for your own research and then in your thesis, obviously, yes, then you can kind of choose which direction to take.
All right, thank you guys for that. We have a couple of more questions. Here is a LUMES question. Is it also possible with the LUMES program to work in, for example, sustainability consulting afterwards?
Yes. Yes, most certainly. We have a lot of students who actually, if I say end up there, that sounds so negative, but like take this career path and become consultants in that field. We have a lot of people also that Kim mentioned, about 25% go on to do a PhD. We have a lot of people that actually go into the state sector, so work for ministries, work for municipalities. We have a lot of people that go into the public sector. And then those that go into the private sector, we had, for example, one student from batch 16. She had been the sustainability manager for Findus, for like one of these big frozen food companies, and now started her own consultancy in sustainability issues. Another one works in the field of consultancy in the energy in Denmark, others in transport. So yeah, there's a lot.
Can I ask, if I were to visit your respective websites, can I learn more about, I mean, your alumni and their careers on your websites, or do I have to go somewhere else to learn more about the outcomes?
Yeah, a new thing that we've done is, and we have this section on alumni on our homepage. So it's LUMES and then /LUMES alumni, where we also link directly to a couple of LinkedIn profiles of our graduates. So you can see what they're doing right now. You get a bit more of an overview than just like a short bio that might not be updated. So thanks, Rebecca, for uploading that, where you can get information on that. So yes, you will have the possibility to find that on our homepage, actually.
All right. IIIEE, is it the same on your website?
I'm trying to remember if we have an entry point.
We do. I just checked.
Yeah.
So on the
excellent
education tab on our website, we also have information about our alumni, statistics in terms of what careers that they go into after the program, as well as alumni stories. And I think we have 5 or 8 different alumni stories that are highlighted there, in where they share what they took away from the program and how they're applying the knowledge and the skills developed in the program in their careers as well.
But I think one of the important things is that we also have a dedicated alumni website, which is a communication platform for the graduates. And I think we have a very high participation rate of more than 90%. Some of the colleagues have been working very hard to have everyone on board in that. So I'm trying to remember how the prospect students may have access. Do you remember, Beatrice? Do we give access to the prospect students? Not yet, yeah?
No, I think you don't get access to the richness of the information, and when you're a prospect student, I think there have been discussions to what extent we can make some part of it, but the alumni platform is awesome. So it's essentially, you have 1,000 people who are working in professional capacities across the world, that you can join and access and talk to, and given the fact that we've been around for a while, some of them are in pretty awesome positions right now doing really important work. And so that's also part of what you get from graduating from this program is access to this fantastic group of smart people doing important stuff, but they're also really nice and friendly. You get to meet them often because we also have alumni conferences at repeated intervals.
Okay, thank you. Henner, you raised your hand.
Yeah, just quickly to add, because I forgot that we have an alumni page on LinkedIn, but we also have one group on Facebook, which is called Jobs and Life After LUMES, where basically that started off as a page where people were just posting job offers. This is a group that's mainly used by LUMES students, but not exclusive to LUMES students. We actually snatched a lot of EMP students as well in that group, as well as students from the CPS program, from the Culture Power Sustainability program. So it's a really good resource for finding jobs afterwards, because we have like 2-3 postings. On good days, we have up to 5 postings a day. On bad days, we have maybe just 1. But there's quite a bit of jobs coming in, actually.
All right, thank you. Here we have a question, maybe coming from Japan, Matsumoto Taichi. Hello, I'm going to apply straight after my bachelor's. How many students are coming straight after their bachelor's, and how many have come in with a couple of years of work experience?
To be honest, I don't have any percentage information in my head, but many of the applicants have a few years of working experience, but we are not definitely excluding those that are coming straight from the bachelor's degree. So typically we have at least a few students coming straight from the bachelor's degrees. That's how much we can say. Beatrice, do you happen to have any statistics you have in your head?
No, no, I think you were pretty much on the mark there. So yeah, a few every year come straight. Most students, the bulk, would have a few years, and then we have some who actually have quite long working experience coming into the program.
So it's a mix, and in any case, it's not actually a hard requirement for either program here that you must have work experience before you can apply. That's not the case. Let's just try to answer a couple more questions if we can. One question that came in is, how are students usually assessed in the programs? I.e., are there midterms, finals like we had in undergrad, or are evaluations approached differently in these programs? Thank you.
I think it differs from one course to the other, but there are a number of different types of assessments used, be it course paper, seminar participation, the quality of the seminar participation. We also use traditional exams, but probably one important difference is that we have a modular style in that we have typically running 1 or 2 courses, maximum 2 courses at a time. Once the course ends, then we have exam. Some of the courses have exams earlier and have another type of assessments towards the end of the course. So we have very mixed different types of assessment method. To answer shortly.
Yeah, Henner, is it the same at the LUMES?
Yeah, it's very similar. We also have this block-wise teaching, so that the examination always takes place within one block that you then have for a month or 2 months, and then you move on to a new course. So that means you don't have like a big examination week at the end of the year, and we have gotten rid of all traditional exams, actually. So our examination is exclusively in other formats. Most of it, I would say, is take-home exams, where you basically get an assignment, you have 3 days, 4 days to submit something, but we also have a number of, I'd say, more creative or more alternative ways of assessing. Yeah.
Here's a question. Is there any specialization or focus within climate change in either EMP or LUMES? What are our possibilities in this crucial subject?
Maybe just from my perspective, teaching environmental science, I mean, of course, climate change is something that we discuss in depth together with other ecological challenges we face. But I would just say as a student, I think that across all of our courses, there are opportunities to look specifically at climate change and how businesses are engaging with it and how policy is or can be engaging with it. And I think it's really the opportunity for the student to take that advantage when writing a paper or when choosing a presentation. And that flexibility does exist. And there are mechanisms in the courses to allow that as well.
Yeah, I would say, sorry, is anybody else from IIIEE?
No, Henner, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you. Yes, climate change is a red thread that goes through the entire program, so you'll encounter it in pretty much all courses, but we have one specific course as an elective, which is called the Politics of Climate Change, if I'm not mistaken, where you will very exclusively focus on questions of climate change as an elective third semester. So look at the science and politics of climate change. I just got corrected. That's what it's called. Look at the outline of the program and the different selectives we're offering, and then you can find more information on that specifically there.
Thank you. Here's a question. We're just finishing up here. We have a couple more questions. This is a question especially directed for the panelists who were also previously students in either program, i.e. all of you. From your experience, what advice would you give students to be successful in LUMES or the IIIEE program, IIIEE, apologies. Is there anything you wish you would have done earlier or more to take the most out of the program? What would you say to that? How should students prepare to get the most out of the program?
I mean, just quickly from my perspective, and again, this is my own individual reflection, I'm really enjoying taking more time to reflect on my actions, on my impacts, on the world. And so I carry around with me a notebook to take that time to just pause and reflect. I think that's something that I wish I would have started earlier in my educational endeavors.
Anyone else want to weigh in?
I think if you take the LUMES program, it's going to be a bit of a crazy ride, and we can only prepare so much for crazy rides, frankly. So if you come here with an open mind, with ideas, with idealism, then we'll make sure that you'll take the most out of the program.
All right. We have a question here from a person. What is the ratio of theory versus or theoretical work versus field work at each program? Naoko?
Let's see, I wouldn't probably call it field work necessarily, but we have quite strong focus on the application side of the knowledge. Percentage, I don't know if we can say a number, but I would say 20-80 or something like that. Would you agree, my colleagues?
I'm hesitant to add and assign any percentage, but I do think that our program does have a very application-based focus, and that would just be something that I would again underscore and would want you to take away from understanding the MP program.
So maybe I mean, at least say for instance, I teach in courses like how do companies work with sustainability in relation to supply chains, and so theory comes in as lenses through which that can be helpful for us to understand the dynamics of supply chains or how companies make decisions. So we sort of talk about theories, but often link them to what extent can they be helpful in addressing, real life challenges that you might face working in different fields with sustainability.
All right, Henner, would you like to say for
we
LUMES?
we actually start off with a field trip where the start of the program is very practical, where you go out and you do some measurements and you get your hands dirty. After that, we go quite a bit into theory stuff. So this we will definitely do. But we have external guest speakers coming in pretty much in every course, if I'm not mistaken, fairly sure, and we'll also do field trips in every course. So there is, of course, the theory is central. That is important because what you will be doing is you'll have to understand social science, and social science is very, very theory driven. My impression is that theory, especially doing the thesis work, is very central. But don't be afraid. It's also exciting, and it's also a good thing, and it's also a very enlightening thing to engage with. So I would say don't be intimidated by a high share of theory in the program.
All right, thank you all panelists. I think that's basically, we're scheduled to go until 3, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. It's 3:05 now. So unfortunately, we won't be able to take any more questions today, but I would like to thank all panelists, Henner, Naoko, Stephen, and Beatrice for joining us here today, and also, of course, all participants who posed very interesting questions to our panelists. I hope we have been able to provide information that would help you determine which of these 2 programs perhaps are more relevant for you as an applicant, and shed some light on that, and also what these programs are looking for in their students and what you can expect once inside the program. Also a bit about outcomes. So thank you all for joining here today, and we hope to see you eventually in Lund. So yeah, thanks from us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.